Everybody, the American Space Museum. I'm Marquette. We're so glad you're with us today to stay curious. Today's episode, we're going to talk about that foggy Falcon Heavy launch this morning that was spectacular in some places on the Space Coast and not so in others. We're going to look at an iconic planetarium that's being torn down. Got an astronaut birthday for you, and we're going to talk a little bit of some other spacey stuff here to help you stay curious on this Tuesday, November 1st, 2022. And we are being sponsored today by coming to you from the Holiday Inn Studios, Titusville Holiday Inn at exit 95, where we're going to be staging Saturday our first memorabilia show. We're excited about that. And we welcome Holiday Inn helping sponsor our event by giving us a good rate there at their conference center. Thank you. Had a nice walkthrough today with Ashley and Isabella there that are in charge of the conference center. And this is on exit 95, a very big intersection here in Titusville. So if you're in the area, we've got to show you some sponsors there in just a second. But thank you for sponsoring us, Holiday Inn Titusville. We have doing the 683rd episode today with my co-producer and friend Marty Winkle. Marty, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Mark. How are you?
Good, except you were in Foggy Bottom today instead of Space Coast of Florida, it seemed. Right? For the launch today?
Yeah, we were in the fog and we didn't see anything. We didn't see liftoff. We didn't see the landing, but we heard it.
Wow. Well, we're getting ahead of ourselves there. We'll talk about that in a minute as we show you our flyer for our memorabilia show. What's unique about this, and no matter where you're at in the world, Dave Stange up in Michigan, you can participate by bidding on the 12-item mini auction we're going to have at 4 o'clock. These are some really cool items. In fact, we're going to go over these items on Thursday this week, all 12 of them, so you have a chance to bid on them. And we want the money to go to our gallery upgrades here. Our executive director, Karan Conklin, and our excellent manager for our exhibits, Nick Enix. They need some money to have some better displays here, some showy lighting, some ideas that they have for some of the memorabilia that we even have in storage that we don't have a place to bring out and show. So we hope that you can support us, and it'll be fun to watch at 4 o'clock, a mini auction. But if you're in the area, if you got any space memorabilia, you wonder how much it costs, how much it's worth, free appraisals from 2 experts. Ken Havicott that's sponsoring us there, and Bid Again Auctions. And we also have sponsoring us Delaware North. I need to change that flyer out because Delaware North come on as a sponsor for us this week. And they, of course, are Kennedy Visitors Complex Center out there. So, and we want to give a shout out to this man, Chuck Jeffrey. This is a plaque outside our entrance to our museum here at 308 Pine Street that basically says, "Thank you, Chuck Jeffrey, for saving our museum. It would have closed maybe 5 years ago had it not been for this man taking an interest in auctions and auctioning off items. Again, not museum display items. This is extra items, things that literally come in the door that we have multiples on, or they're not museum quality. Chuck started that 5 years ago. We were up to auction number 23, a big auction of 400 items that we're going to have on November 19th. So thank you, Chuck Jeffrey, for all you do for this museum. He doesn't even watch, I don't even think he has a Facebook account, so he might not see this, but we are ever indebted to Chuck, and his passion for space memorabilia has continually brought good income to our museum in the form of auctions. Here's a little tease of 4 of the 12 items. We've got a Mercury program and with a test flight parachute section on it, Gemini 5 re-entry flight book checklist with a COA. Gemini 5, I think, would have been Pete Conrad and Pete Karan and Gordon Cooper on 5 Days or Bust, 8 Days or Bust. We got a vintage award for Apollo 11 there, and some Apollo 11 Kapton foil, always a not so cheap item to own, like $1,000 maybe. 4 items to kind of tease you about our mini auction to help us improve our galleries here at the American Space Museum. We've got new carpet that we're proud of. Now we want to buff up our appearance a little bit and get away from some of those. We basically have a lot of jewelry store hand-me-downs for our displays here. But that's the plight of a nonprofit, and we're proud of what we do, and we're proud to represent the American space age in all of its glory the best we can here in downtown Titusville. Well, a little sad note there that might send Keith Sewell to tears. One of our Stay Curious followers, Keith Sewell, an astronomy educator and professor at the local college. This is one of the branches of Eastern Florida State University, where the Cocoa Planetarium in Cocoa, Florida, is coming down. And we hate to see that, but it got damaged in Hurricane Irma 6 years ago, and water damage hurt the planetarium. And it's just horrible to see this site of the planetarium is in where the rubble's laying down there, as well as we had one of the last fundraisers the American Space Museum had. There were 12 astronauts was in this facility that's now rubble. Yes, Marty.
As far as I know, they're rebuilding the planetarium.
Well, they say they're rebuilding the planetarium, but we'll believe it when we see it, say the planetarium lovers. Yes, they've got $26 million to rebuild some of the facilities that were damaged. But when you dig into it, that is a year-by-year appropriation. So each year it will come up, do we need a planetarium and a showpiece facility to show off the stars to people? They had a nice observatory and telescope there. But yes, that might be in the works, but we're not certain. But we do know that it has coming down. Yes, Marty.
Okay, my mic's not working.
Oh, your mic's not working?
Yeah, I've been trying to get it online.
Okay. All right. Well, so Marty will have to shout louder there. But that's the. So let's look at a picture here taken by Carlton Bailey a few days ago when he was setting up his remotes, actually yesterday, of the Falcon Heavy rocket. And when it launched at 9:41 this morning here from Spaceview Park, you couldn't see it. Right, Marty? Like he's saying there, is it plugged in good? Check the back there to make sure. Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got an anomaly on Marty's mic there. So, but we do have some pictures that I pulled off of Spaceflight Now. I love crediting people. This is Spaceflight Now website. Don't know if this is Ben Cooper or Stephen Clark took this photo. Two of the main photographers on there, but there is it as it rose out of the sky. Actually, I don't know who that was from. That's photographer Michael Kane from the roof of the VAB. And Marty, you probably had to be above the vehicle assembly building to see the doggone thing because, well, I watched it at Merritt Island because I was at a meeting there that you'll see here in a minute, what it looked like from Merritt Island, 25 miles away. And here in the parking lot, Marty says he got in the parking lot. All of our volunteers here and employees went out in the parking lot and they couldn't see anything at all. It was so cloudy. So Ozzy, bless his heart, he probably didn't get to see it over there at Spaceview Park, right on the Indian River edge there. But as it rose out of the fog, boy, was it spectacular. And there's a shot by Julian Leake. Thank you, Julian. Julian is a professional freelance photographer, one of the few photographers around here, Julian Leake is, who photographed an Apollo launch. And there is the 3 Falcon 9 rockets strapped together to make the Falcon Heavy, the 4th time that Elon Musk SpaceX has launched this. And of course, the highlight is the 2 boosters coming back simultaneously there. Let me have a little rocket fuel on that beautiful shot of Julian Leakes. Ah, cha-cha-cha-cha. Well, I was at a meeting of the Museums of Brevard, 20 wonderful museums that celebrate the heritage of Brevard County at the Merritt Island Visitor Center. And there is my view of it, about what your eyeball saw with like a 50 millimeter lens. I didn't even have a telephoto lens with me. And there's a condo above, right across the street from the Veterans Memorial Center, which is a fabulous must-see museum here in Brevard County. There you see the vapor trail as the rocket flame is speeding away. And then we got to see it come down, of course, about 8.5 minutes later. You could just barely see one and then the other right there in the middle. The bright object is that's the first booster coming down. And they were closer, of course, to the Port Canaveral, which would have been probably a good place to see it. Thank you, Marty. There's the one of the boosters landing down. Kind of anticlimactic because just you see the fog layer right above the trees there, and so it disappeared. But somebody got the spectacular shot, and I pulled this off Space Flight Now. I would suspect this would be the wonderful photographer Ben Cooper's image. That does not get old. It looks so surreal. It looks so sci-fi in many ways. And these boosters, they're big, but they're not that big. Okay, wait till Blue Origin starts bringing back their New Glenn rocket that is about twice the size of this first stage there. But still a beautiful sight to see. And then, what did we hear? Back-to-back double sonic booms were heard all across the county. And I know you heard those pretty good, Marty, here at the American Space Museum, because we're just 9 miles away from there. So this completes the 4th trip to space with Falcon Heavy, and the mission seems to be a success. It put up 2 Department of Defense or Space Force military satellites, somewhat top secret, that their development and whatever had held back the launch for almost 3 years of a Falcon Heavy. But I think we're going to try to be seeing 1 or 2 a year at least now, as Elon Musk is filling up his order list for people that want to launch their big heavy rockets. The other heavy rocket alternative, of course, is the Atlas of United Launch Alliance, soon to be the Vulcan on there. So, well, we are now geared up for another launch, November 14th, a week from next Monday morning, Sunday night. Is still the desired date at 12:04 a.m. But there you see the launch times for Artemis 1, what they call period 28. You've got 6 days in a row there. If they have a scrub on Sunday night, Monday morning, you got reserve your hotel for another couple nights, because they got 6 days in a row there that are launch favorable opportunities. So that's got to give everyone a good feeling that they're not pressured to launch, on the 14th, because the 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th are all available. So, but I have a hunch, Marty, that they're going to get it off Sunday night, Monday morning on the 14th. It's certainly will be exciting to hang out there with you and others at Spaceview Park to watch the launch of this. Artemis 1. Happy birthday! We have an astronaut birthday today, one that I hope that you have the opportunity to see in the community. Happy 69th birthday to Jan Davis, 3-time shuttle flyer, born November 1st, 1953, right here in Cocoa Beach, Florida. But she considers Huntsville, Alabama to be her hometown, where her family moved. Logged more than 28 days in space. She became an astronaut in 1987, and here's her youthful photograph. And then she flew as a mission specialist on STS-47 in 1992. NASA did not know at the time that Jan Davis was married to Mark Lee. They had got married at the Justice of the Peace before the launch. Too late to change the crews. They obviously didn't get disciplined for that because both of them had multiple flights. But they on the flight together, they were on the 47 flight was a Japanese space lab, and they were on different 12-hour shift teams. So supposedly one was sleeping or doing other things while the other one was working in the space lab. Both they divorced. She's currently married to a judge named Schuyler Richardson. Not currently married to, hopefully happily married to her there. So flew on STS-60 in Discovery in 1994 and payload commander for STS-85 in 1997. She's an Auburn University graduate. There is Jan in a picture recently showing a picture of her in the orange pumpkin suit getting ready for one of her flights. She has done her graduate work at the University of Huntsville, Alabama. And I'll bet she's still around the Alabama area doing good things like all of our astronauts are, sharing their life and their ambition and motivating that next generation of space flyers, right, Marty? We've seen Marty and some of us here at the American Space Museum are religiously going out to support Nick Thomas and the astronaut of the day. Nick Thomas is, of course, the astronaut wrangler who helps introduce these astronauts and takes them to their public appearances at the Kennedy Visitors Complex. So they're always fascinating stories, and as we see more astronauts and learn more about them, we can share that personal experience with you here on Stay Curious. Well, we hope you're enjoying today, and we know two artists that enjoy the Space Museum that we can't brag enough about how they support us, and that is Chris Calley and Doug Forrest. Both have their own little niche of artwork. Chris, of course, the son of the famous Paul Calley, the sketch artist that was one of the first 8 artists allowed on Kennedy Space Center property by the great James Webb. That was for Gordo Cooper's flight in 1963, the last Mercury flight. But here's one of Chris's beautiful new pieces of artwork called Touched by the Moon. When you really look at the detail of those lunar craters, my gosh, there's a lot of detail in there that Chris has put into his work with a little Photoshop in the background there. And if you look real close, Marty, you can see some footprints on the moon there in Chris Calley's work of art. And then Doug Forrest, thank you for being a Stay Curious follower. And no, this is not a photograph of Jim McDivitt, who died a few weeks ago. This is a pencil drawing by Doug Forrest of Jim McDivitt looking through his helmet. A very interesting perspective and such detail. When Jim McDivitt was shown the work of art in progress of this, Doug said that Jim McDivitt said, "Where'd you get that photograph?" He thought it was a photograph looking at it up close there. So hope you can support our two space artists that support the American Space Museum, Chris Calley and Doug Forrest. There's where you can buy some of their artwork and see more of their artwork there. And we're going to end Stay Curious with looking up today, okay? We want you to look up and see the International Space Station. And you can find an app on your phone, with your Android or iPhone, to download when the International Space Station is coming over your neck of the woods. Usually 1 week a month it is in the morning sky twilight, and another week of the month it's in the evening twilight. You're always going to see it in the twilight because the space station doesn't glow on its own. It glows by reflected sunlight, mostly off of those solar panels. And so it's only when the sun, you're never going to see it at midnight, okay, because it's not up high enough to catch sunlight. Though there are some geosynchronous satellites 22,000 miles up that can still catch sunlight, because they're always bathed in sunlight that high up. Only 225 miles above the Earth, really skimming above the Earth, and these astronauts will wave at you if you wave back at them. I don't think they'll wave at you, do you, Marty?
Yeah.
But we've got Hal Williams watching. Zeta, thank you for watching. Zeta Cauldron, she's going to have a vendor at our American Space Museum memorabilia show. Thank you for watching Hazel Banks. I know I rooted for your Buffalo Bills, and she was rooting for my Cleveland Browns last night, and we came through big time. Gary Gerald, thank you for staying curious. Of course, we got Tom Usiak watching. Mark's probably too busy today, or he's kicking himself that he couldn't be down here to photograph the Falcon Heavy launch. Carlton Bailey, I was looking for your pictures there, but they must have all been in the fog, as were his videos that he posted. Pam Shivik, good to see you watching and staying curious, young lady. We have got Marta Salida Angelizaga. And Ben Huset's watching on there. And I haven't mentioned our 68, Expedition 68 crew up there. Left to right, Frank Rubio of NASA. Russian cosmonaut Dmitry Petrolin is beside him in the background there. JAXA astronaut, Japanese Space Agency that is. Kawachi Wataga, who John Harrington astronaut called the Man. They trained together doing EVAs. And Wakata there, third from the left, is one of, I think, 3 human beings to fly in 3 different spaceships. So you're thinking 3 different spaceships. Yeah, he was on a shuttle flight. He was on a Soyuz flight, a Russian Soyuz, and he went to space on the Crew Dragon of SpaceX. So how cool is that? 3 separate spacecraft that Wakata has been on. Right in the middle there, the 68, that's astronaut Josh Casada and Nicole Mann, who's the commander of the Crew Dragon spaceship as a rookie commander, also a Marine. Urod and Nicole Mann there. A lot of people have her as the inside track as the first woman on the moon, Marty. I'm not too sure about that, but she has got extensive geology training too. And then the other 2 astronauts, you are both Russian. You got Sergei Prokopyev and Anna Krikina. And Anna Krikina is only the 5th Russian woman to go to space. We have over 55 American gals who've been to space. And Anna Krikina is the 5th to go up there. So, we love personalizing our astronauts, and we want you to remember the astronauts that are on the International Space Station. And in fact, remember, well, we've got 7 there. Remember all 10 astronauts that are orbiting the Earth. And you go, 10 astronauts, Mark. Wait a minute. We got 1, 2, we got 7 there. Where's the other 3? How about the 3 Chinese that are orbiting the Earth in their heavenly palace, is what they call their space station. And you bet I've got their names. Chao Zhu, Chen Dong, and the woman Louis Yang are on the heavenly palace called Tiangong, orbiting the Earth. So 10 human beings orbiting the Earth. And what's going to be interesting is Expedition 68, in just a couple weeks, we'll be celebrating 22 continuous years that human beings have been in space orbiting the Earth. And that is so cool that if you know anybody, 21-year-old person, 22-year-old person, they've never taken a breath on this planet without somebody off the planet orbiting it. How cool is that to think about? Well, a couple other things to think about. Well, I wanted to throw this International Space Station up there for you while we were talking about them. And this is kind of a time exposure. You see the stars moving and the Earth beneath them. I love these night shots. There is a Soyuz spacecraft docked to the Russian segment called Nakia for science. That's their new module there that it's hooked up to. That's where they filmed a movie that we can't wait to see with a Russian actress and her director. That was about a year ago. And we're going to be talking about a couple things up in the sky, but last night was Halloween, and I was giving away moonshine last night, Marty. But it's the kind of moonshine that can't get you drunk, all right? I had a telescope out, and as the kiddos come up and got some candy, I was showing them the moon and also the planets out there. But before I show you what the night sky looks like real quick, there's going to be an eclipse of the moon here a week from Monday night. And this eclipse of the moon will only be, it's in the middle of the morning, all right? A third of the country west of the Rockies is going to see the entire thing from start to finish, and over half of Canada. But most of America, it's going to be either where we're at here in Florida, is the moon will be exiting totality and returning to partial phase as it's setting in the sky. All right, because this is an event that happens at 2 in the morning to like 5 in the morning Pacific time. And with the sun rising about 6 o'clock in the morning, it's not going to be a very favorable eclipse, except those of you out west of the Rockies. So enjoy that. But as you're looking up at the night sky tonight, you're going to see a bunch of stars. No matter where you're at in your own backyard, you're going to see the moon, like I'm showing above my head here. And above the moon is going to be the planet Saturn tonight. And then in 2 nights, the moon's going to be near Jupiter over on the far left, okay? And I put labels up there for you. There's not going to be labels up in the sky. But to show you that the Saturn is above the moon in Aquarius. Aquarius actually is going over the word Saturn up there at the top. So the moon and Saturn are in the planet Aquarius, and it doesn't really have any bright stars. You're not going to see hardly any stars of Aquarius from your suburban backyard. But then you got, Capricorn. I'm sorry, it's Capricorn where the moon and Saturn is. Aquarius is the constellation between Jupiter and Saturn. And Jupiter is in Pisces, the fishes. Below Pisces is Cetus, the whale. Sculpture there is a tool that was used in ancient times. Grus is a constellation. Grus is a waterfowl, as is Indica, another waterfowl there. But you'll definitely easily see Saturn tonight above the moon. If you have a telescope of any kind, put it on Saturn with a high number eyepiece like 25, and then work up to that 12 or 9 millimeter eyepiece. You want low power to find it. You'll see the rings just barely look like little. Galileo thought they were ears on the side of the planet because he couldn't define them as rings. That happened maybe 25 years after Galileo when bigger telescopes were built. But you can definitely see the moons of Jupiter and its disk on there as you look up in the night sky. So, Marty, thank you for a good Streamlabs program today. Again, sorry to be a little late. We did have a little hiccup there and a hiccup in Marty's mic there that we'll solve. And we hope to solve that in time to bring you this gentleman, Terry White. Terry's bundled up there for our astronaut memorial last January, where we celebrate our fallen heroes the last Saturday of the month. This year it's going to be on a Sunday. And Terry, he is, of course, the manager of the orbital processing facilities, where the shuttle lived most of its life. Our 3 shuttles just orbited for 10 to 16 days at the most. Where were they all the rest of the time that they were on the ground? Well, they were in these garages, and this is one of the guys that was in charge of the maintenance, refurbishment, and loving care of our treasured national treasures, our space shuttle. So, Terry, can't wait to hear from you tomorrow. We're going to talk about in depth the first processing of a shuttle from STS-1 to the launch in November 1991 of Columbia for the second time. So you won't want to miss that with Terry White tomorrow on Stay Curious. And thank you, the Holiday Inn in Titusville at Exit 95, for sponsoring this segment of Stay Curious and hosting our space memorabilia show this Saturday, and again with our 12-item special 4 o'clock mini auction. So until then, I'm Mark Marquette saying, hey, we can't wait to see this site again, all right? And until we do again, come visit our museum in the Space Coast to bridge the space between us.